All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming back. My name is Ren again, coming back on off season, and we are continuing the interview with Audi, Dr. Audi, we're calling him. Of course, you can see his accolades and his name inside the flyer that I'm going to put up, but we're going into the question and answer period. On the first session, we were about to ask 2 more questions, but sadly, it looked like we were going to disconnect, and I didn't want to lose the interview, so I ended it just to save it, but we'll continue with the 2 questions here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll send Audi an invite right now. Or he can send me an invite. I don't know what's going on, but I just didn't want to lose that first interview. That was dynamic. The mantra. Audi, you can send the invite again. I don't know what happened, but it looked like the Instagram app was about to crash. So I pretty much saved that. I didn't want to lose that interview. That was dynamic, bro. Thank you for sharing your story and your reality with us. And then we'll come back for part 2 and questions. So ladies and gentlemen, as you are here, drop your questions that you may have for Audi. We're only going to be here for a few minutes more, but please drop your questions. And again, sorry for the not want to lose that interview. Too much nuggets, too much information. It was just too much to lose. So we'll wait for Audi to log in. Again, this episode is brought to you. This episode is brought to you by Bushty Unlimited.
Bushty. All right.
So what had happened was it looked like it was about to crash. And normally when it crashes on Instagram, we lose everything. And I wanted to save it. And so we'll just continue from there. So part 2, question and answer. Of course, you were getting into your degree. And I had 1 more personal question from me. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, drop your question. But did you see yourself going further as a student athlete with some of the provisions that are here now? And I'll name them again. A food program where our athletes eat about twice a day, free of charge again. The athletic training department, who of course gives you ice baths, they do injury assessments, they do assessments in physical nature like that. What else, what benefit I would say that you didn't have back then you have now? I think, now they have study hall. Y'all had study hall back then, but Ms. Roll really strict about she's stricter about that now, I'd say. So you have study hall and I would say the personal attachment of the counseling department who really work closely with athletes to make sure that they're successful. So if you had some of these provisions given to you as a student athlete back then, do you see yourself probably having gone further in the sport, maybe national team or something?
I would definitely say I would have gone, but I did try out. But I would say I actually made attempts in terms of joining the volleyball national team for the under 21. Unfortunately, it was that time, I think it was like in 2010. And I kind of, for lack of a better word, I kind of shot myself in the leg pretty much. It's like I didn't have the proper training. I wouldn't say I didn't have that kind of, what I would say. It's like I had the fundamentals, but in terms of that killer instinct for playing volleyball, I didn't have it. So then I figured that in the summer of 2009, I would just go ahead and, train with the national team so that I can actually develop those skills that I knew I didn't have and kind of get better in terms of contributing on the volleyball team at COB. And if we did have those things at COB, I definitely would have been a whole lot better in terms of my athletic abilities, in terms of my performance for each of those sports. But, we can't look at what it could have been. We just look at what it, I only could look at what is. I only could look at what is. And, I think in terms of that summer, for those couple of weeks or so, and training with the under 21 national team, it definitely boosts my entire outcome and overview of what volleyball could have been for me. And it's kind of heartbreaking when your coaches, especially Coach Van Dyke, used to tell me, it's like, if only you had the proper training when you was younger, you would have gone so much further. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, you have all the intangibles that coaches look for. And it's like, you have the talent, you have the discipline, you have the perseverance, you have the work ethic, you have all these intangibles, and you have the speed, which most you can't even train. You can't even teach people speed. And to hear him say those kind of things, I'm like, well, it's unfortunate I didn't, but I'm only gonna do what I can do best with what I have at the moment and do as much as I can with it. Because after all is said and done, I only could look back and say, okay, well, I did my best, and even though I couldn't or didn't actually make the national team, I'm still okay with it. But for the athletes at this current age and time, if you guys don't attempt to try to make the national teams, that's on y'all, because y'all have everything given. I wouldn't say given to y'all. Y'all have everything at your will that you can just go in and ask and request and put in that extra time. Get the skill training, get the recovery, you get the mental aspect in terms of counseling. Those kind of things that people tend to think that athletes don't have to deal with in terms of talking to a counselor, in terms of making sure your mind right for you to perform highly on the sport. You all have that. We didn't have that. So use it to your advantage. And go there and put your names in the record books and in the limelights, and make sure that everybody know about you. Because at the end of the day, UB is making sure that they give you all what it is you all need for you all to be successful.
I have a question, and shout outs to G. Gavin did a great episode last week. Well, sorry. Yeah, that was basically last week, in a week time. But seeing G made me think about this constant principle you and him both have, which is hard work, dedication, right? And I'm curious, do you think there's a difference between the athlete who came under the COB Caribs genre, who worked hard, who understand that nothing was given and appreciated the little things, versus, I guess, the student athlete who's coming in having everything at their disposal? Do you feel there's a difference?
I think I would say that the times are adjusting to the times, UB and COB itself adjusted to the times in terms of how, I would say, students and young adults are treated in society themselves. I can't even say for those who actually came in the similar neighbors from where me and G came from. But nonetheless, it's like if you came from the ghetto, like the Centervilles, the Angliston, it's like the Baintown, Bain and Grantstown. It's like you knew what it was like for you to come from struggle, and you had to work for everything that you had. And some of the kids, it's like they know what it's like. They know what it's like coming from those neighborhoods, but nonetheless, it's like they have this mindset that, okay, well, everything needs to be given to me for me to perform at my best ability. And UB has actually given them what they need, but yet they underappreciated what they are given. But for us, in terms of our time, we knew we had to work for what we had. It was like nothing was handed out to us in terms of what was already there, unless if it was those things that we needed to actually help us in terms of practice and games. But other than that, it's like everything else you had to work for. I think I heard G said he was working like a full-time job, and I had to walk home every night in terms of that. It's like I was working as a tutor on campus. I had a part-time job, and I had a summer job all year round, pretty much. It's like I was working full-time in the summer, and then we had like every other week or so we had to work on a Saturday for my summer job that I had. And it's like my mom wasn't around, so everything I needed, I had to figure out how to get it. COB didn't provide me housing. I had to figure out where the hell I'm going to live in order for me to actually still come to COB. Some days, you go to school and you don't have anything to eat. You still have to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to eat today? And I have practice today. If I go to practice and I can't eat and I can't perform, coach is going to look at me and say, okay, well, you can't play in this next game because you didn't perform in practice. So it's like y'all have everything. And it's like y'all didn't have to work for it, but yet you all don't appreciate anything that is in place for you all to be successful. So I think it's just the times in terms of the mindset, in terms of the student athletes in this day and age. It's like when you look at the social media in terms of other programs where they have all of these state-of-the-art facilities, it's like they come in and thinking, okay, well, I must have this in order for me to be performing. And our time we had social media, but it wasn't prevalent in terms of athletes. We following athletes and following celebrities and seeing what their lifestyle are. And it's like with this social media live and Instagram and all of these things, you can pretty much put your life on display for everybody to see. And when you see that as a student athlete, seeing another athlete within your same age class getting that kind of treatment, you want it. And if you don't get it, you're like, okay, well, since they're not given to me, I'm just going to do the bare minimum. I'm going to perform just enough to make them happy so that they can, still keep me on a scholarship, but yet I'm not going to give them all I have.
That's real. And you're entitled to that position, bro. I feel like as an alumni, when you see so many students just come and go as quickly as we get to see, or so many students start off good, but then the grades don't hit, I come to always question, like, What was it that you needed? What was it that we wasn't giving you? And it comes back to these same points, bro. I think it's intrinsic. Like they need to have that grit, that determination to understand what's given them. I think your story shows them how far, like a lot of people say, but our degree, but we both graduated. They say, oh, COB ain't accredited yet. But it's like you can go off these lessons you get from COB. You can transfer your credits. You can get your master's and PhD. And you able to sit in classes, and I'm sure you realize this when you went abroad. You sitting in classes and you realize some days, y'all ain't as smart as I thought. And literally, ladies and gentlemen, if we have international listeners to this, I mean no offense to nobody, but when I went to Brock University, that's the first thing went through my head. When I started in the class, and I was remembering, you know the thoughts. So I can't wait to go off, and I could be surrounded by all these genius people, and people copying off me, but
Right.
But I was the island boy.
But
So it's
all about perspective in terms of it. I think, when we go off and, it's like when you see those, sometimes you are surrounded by those geniuses, but it's like, it's only like one or two of them. And everybody else is just like barely making it. And then sitting in those classes and then, just listening to the lecturers teach, it's like, I feel as though I could learn this on my own. But, you still have to be in class. You still have to be in class at the end of the day because you never know what may be said in class. I mean, just spark an idea or a thought process that, you were thinking about a problem and the way to solving it. And someone might say something like, oh, I didn't think of it this way. But then that aspect of it helps you in the long run as well. But it's like, in terms of the dirt and the struggles and everything I had to go through in terms of COB, it's like when I came here, I was like, okay, my first year, I was like, okay, this is pretty good. I had maybe one hard class in terms of what I had my first year, but everything else, I'm like, okay, I've seen this before. Mm-hmm. Now, what is it that you're going to add to this that's going to make this unnoticeable for me? And when they did it, I'm like, okay, now I can connect the dots and I pretty much understand what it is I'll be doing.
So I just want to remind the audience, as we're here, we see you listening. Don't forget to drop your questions. This is a question and answer period. You can ask Audi anything you want. He have a big, long PhD. That's all. He's Dr. Audi today. Y'all need to respect this man. But the next thing I want to talk about is pride, right? And I don't know if anybody else realized it, but we have a lot of proud Haitian Bahamians who are succeeding and really graduating at top honors. We're talking about valedictorian, our recent valedictorian, proud Haitian descent. Of course, the year before, soccer's own Richard Duchley, he was the valedictorian. So not only just a Haitian descent, but a student athlete was the valedictorian for graduation. Of course, we have Audi, we have Kimsey, we have so many proud people, right? How does it feel as someone who has that story that you shared at the beginning of, and I have friends too, right? It's literally not easy. Like until y'all get your paper straight, honestly, bro. Or until you get your paper straight at heart. I have a mentee right now. She's been trying to get immigration papers for the last 4 years, and I'm acting as a guardian. So I understand how ridiculous it is to know that you are growing up in a nation. That's all you know, but they're giving you to run around like, hey, you don't belong here. So as someone who has accomplished the feat of getting past that, I would want to ask, what is it that you can tell any other nationality other than Bahamian who are looking to come into the University of the Bahamas? What tips or maybe 3 things you can share with them to keep them focused to get that end result?
I would say, for me personally, the tip I would give in terms of a personal aspect, you can take it as you want to. Nonetheless, the things that you can't control, it's like, don't try to control them. The things that you can't control, ensure that you control it. Making sure that you get your grades, making sure you put in those applications, making sure that you have your extracurricular activities, all the little things that the university look for in terms of acceptance. Make sure you have those things down pat. If you need to submit a document that you need for your documentation, make sure you do that. Going on and checking on your documents, you can do that as well. Those are the things that you can control. Whether or not the time frame and when you're going to receive that document, you have no control over that. So it's like, do as best as you can what you can, and then everything else, wait for it to, don't just sit down and wait for it to happen, but when it does happen, make sure that you are in a position to capitalize on that thing that you wanted so badly. And I think for me personally, if you look at me in terms of looking at my limitation, whether it was document or finances, I let those things hinder me from actually doing what I could have controlled. And the things I couldn't control, I let them control me. And you don't want to be in a position to let the things that you can't control you and prevent you from doing the things that you need to do. So make sure you do those things. And if you can do those things to your best of your ability, you never know what is going to happen or who is going to see you doing the things that you need to be done that can actually go and find someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that can help you to get the document or the finances that you need for you to get to that place that you need to be at.
That's real, man. And this is good because I feel like the future of the athletics program, we are gonna have a lot of soon to be Jamaican graduates in Lucia. I think that we're gonna get more Caribbean people attracted to the program when they see the avenues and the advantages that you have at the university. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't see any questions. You all having me hug this man time. And I ain't ashamed. I'll take it. I'll take it because he's busy. He didn't have to switch the episode 2 times because he's too busy. What else I had I had a lot of questions for you, but you went long here before. Anyway, I ain't
But I would say the funny thing is that with Kemsey, it's like, you know, it's like he's my cousin, but not first cousin. So it's like we are related. And the thing is that watching him in terms of him growing up and going to the States and then coming back to the University of Bahamas to play ball. I remember it was I think summer 2018. I was on COB campus during the summer and I saw him. I was like, what's going on? You know, we just having a little, you know, chit chat. And then he's like, man, it's like, because it's like, you know, I trying to get better in basketball. And I was like, well, you know, what is it that you can do to get better? And I remember he said that he didn't really say anything, but I look at him, I was like, have you tried in terms of practicing with the national team? He's like, no. I was like, well, the only way you can get better is for you to be around better competition. So why don't you just go there and compete with those guys? And if they're better than you, it's only going to be a ceiling for you at that point for you to get as much as better as those guys. And at the end of the day, when you come back to the college team, you're going to add an extra layer for the guys that you were practicing with to catch you up, which is going to make the team better. And it's like, that was the kind of mentality I had in terms of me playing volleyball. It's like that summer, when I went to try for the under-21 national team, I didn't go with the intention of making a team. I went on the intention of me getting better and wanted to add value to my team so that I could make my team better. I saw how much it influenced and encouraged everybody around me to catch up with me because I got so much better that summer that it was contagious to have that competition and fighting for position and, you know, just trying and having everybody saying, but how did you learn how to do that? I was like, well, I was at practice. And then, you know, you want to come, can you show me how to do it? And that's the kind of things when you are having your teammates actually show you how to do something, that just shows you how hungry they are to get as good as you. And the ones who don't want to get better, you're going to see them start falling away. It's like, you know, I'm doing this for fun. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you really all about this team, you would want to get better.
That's the mentality you have, is definitely commendable, boy. I never would have imagined Audi walking around doing my tutoring was all this, boy. That's a lot. But of course, you've been helping me over the years too, man. You've been helping out the Life Key Foundation Focus Program. You came on board doing the interview with us, evaluating what we did that summer with them. So I'm always grateful for the heart you have. I think that's what you heard with the Kimsey conversation. You have a lot of heart for people, boy. And that's a great thing to have, not only as an athlete, but as a person. And I'm just grateful to even know of you, dog, you know, follow and that's all I can say. They ain't gonna know that. But Audie, I don't see any questions here. But I have more questions I get asked in our time period. I'll ask one more and then we'll end the show. So you said a lot about your progress. You said a lot about your athletics, and of course, you have your PhD. So I don't think we have the question your academia. But how have you found balance between, I would say, your pursuits as a young man? You know, maybe family, maybe you know, just finding a way to get to your mom. How have you found balance between your personal pursuits and all of these issues as well?
But that's a tough question. That's tough. Oh my goodness.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh my god. I gotta think about. Give me a second.
I'll give you a second, but I want to paint the picture for the audience. And correct me if I get it wrong. Of course, you didn't grow up with your mom. You had to be separated. You have this drive. You're in the Bahamas. You're dealing with what I call the Haitian Bahamian paradigm or conflict. You know, of wanting to contribute to the nation you grew up with. Usually, corned beef and white rice too, right? But then they telling you, well, we need you to prove that you see corned beef and white rice. Coming to the university, if you need more time to think, I have a second question I was going to ask, and I think it may help and assist you with it, which is, was it difficult to travel with the team?
Oh boy. With the volleyball team, I think that was my first opportunity to travel, and I did not have my documents for me to travel. Thankfully, the misrule and, just me being, open and, trying not to let shame be deterrent in terms of me letting coach know that I wasn't able to travel because of documents. Got me the opportunity for me to do so. And it's like pulling up in the airport with my, what we call it back then, and the old-fashioned nation, we call it the newspaper. It's this big long piece of document with all the information on it that needs to be pretty much open like a newspaper, and that's the length of the document. It was rough in terms of that because it's like not knowing whether or not if I would be able to travel with the team and knowing all the work I was putting in, it kind of felt as though personally, like it wasn't worth it per se, because it's like you knew that you was going to travel, you knew all of these things. Is this going to end again? Okay, we knew all these things to travel, but nonetheless, it's like, oh boy, how am I going to get this thing done? So, and answering your question in terms of the previous one, I would definitely say in terms of finding the balance between, family, work, and everything else, it was difficult in terms of finding a way to provide for myself and ensure that me mentally, physically, emotionally, and everything else, that I needed to ensure that I was okay. It's like the things that I tried to control, I couldn't control them. Finances, try to control that. I couldn't control it. The places I live in terms of my environment, underneath my roof, pretty much, try to control that. I couldn't control it. But the one thing I definitely would say that I did kind of have a good control over is me in terms of my grades and performing on the field. And so with having that, and then it wasn't until I think it was 2011 or 12 when we traveled with the soccer team to Florida, and we was in, I think it was Fort Lauderdale that we were staying, that I reached out to my mom and I told her I was going to be in Fort Lauderdale. And she was like, where's the address? And I sent her the address, and she asked one of my uncles to take her to the hotel that we were staying for to come and see me. And then seeing her for the first time in over a year, and so many years, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's been so long. And it's like, you don't even know, it's like, I wanted to tell us, like, you don't even know what I have to go through in terms of what it is I need to do in order for me to make sure that I'm eating and making sure I'm keeping on my grades and stuff like that. But it's like, you don't know, but I feel as though you do know, because you made this move not out of selfishness, but you did it because you had a reason for you to do it. So it's like, I never understood why she did her things, because she never would tell me why. But nonetheless, as it started to progress, it's like I started to kind of see the reasons behind it. And by having conversation with her, I started to see why is it that she was doing it. It's like she wanted my little sister to kind of have a better chance than we did in terms of the struggles that we went through in terms of our documentation, the finances, and stuff like that. She wanted my little sister to have an opportunity of being partially American so that she will have access to things that we wanted, what she was trying to give us access to, that we couldn't actually have access to. It's like having the opportunity to go off to school. Having the opportunity to go off to school and not having a document, it's like that was a major deterrent in terms of her wanting us to kind of get better and us seeing better for ourselves. And so with her making that move, it kind of forced me to kind of realize that, okay, well, maybe there is more there for me, because it's like, if she can do this with the limited that she have and not having any form of education, then maybe it's a little bit more that I can do with what she has put in place for me to actually achieve. And so it was a hard thing to balance in terms of accepting what it was for what it was, and also thinking about myself in terms of not having her around for to assist me in terms of anything or almost anything that I was going through. And, having her there to have those conversations and having her there to kind of keep things in order and under our roof. And that was definitely difficult.
But I ain't gonna lie. Normally, I crack jokes, but Audi, real talk, you inspire me right now, dog. Like anybody who listening to this, I don't care what you're going through in COVID. Listen to this man's story. What you complaining for? Like real talk, like real talk, boy. Like what you complain, boy. The strength, and I think it's prayers too, boy. But the strength you had to have to one, make it through that without anger, and two, come out on the side where you understand where your mom position was and you respect her for that, boy. That's inspiring, boy. Because I mean, if it's me, I know me. I just get angry, dog. If my mommy didn't leave me, and I see her after a long period, and I think that turned out to be a silver line blessing God gave you to go through that and know that any second you would have been like, "But screw this, I ain't traveling. It's too much work." But you stick to it, and that ended up being an opportunity for you to see your mom, dog. Like that's those God blessings, boy. So you inspiring. I won't take too much of the time. Ladies and gentlemen, again, leave your questions. I'm gonna start boxing questions. I think I've digged into this man's brain, but not the PhD, because that's hyperbolic. I don't know. But yeah. But I saw me and your story, two different parts, but the end result is the same. But I never saw myself here either. But you know that I never saw me doing this. So we have about 2 minute warning time or a 2 minute time where we wait for your questions. If we don't see any questions in about 2 minutes, we're going to end the show, and we're just going to continue with a casual conversation. But Audi, next thing I could touch, because I personally know this is, but how you deal with Jofi? But
I don't know, but it's like me not ever having my father around in terms of growing up. It's like Jofi was that father figure for me in terms of being at COB. It's like, it's like
I can delete this other interview. Don't worry about it. I could cut this. That right there.
So it's like dealing with him. It was more in terms of like, okay, well, he was my lecturer, but I still look at him. Okay, well, he's that authoritative figure in terms of someone who I aspire to be like if I do actually end up in this position. So dealing with him, it was, I don't even know. It was like, if he says something, it wasn't like that it was gospel. It's like, okay, well, how can I challenge what it is that he said? If I can challenge it, then I can probably appreciate where is it that he's coming from. Because it's like, I love to ask questions and I love to find challenges, like to challenge people in terms of what they say. So when having Jofi and dealing with him, it's like, it's like I had Trevon, I had Wenzel, those guys who were in the program with me. They dealt with all the other stuff that Jofi had to go. They dealt with all the other stuff in terms of Jofi being Jofi. But for me, it's like when I deal with him, I would not approach him in terms of when he was in that condition, in terms of, him wanted to be right. Him wanted to actually go ahead and say, okay, well, I bet you wouldn't be able to do this. I'd be like, no, we all deal with that. And when he comes now, then I can actually go ahead and have a discussion with him. So that was the kind of relationship I had with Jofi. So it's never where, I never bet him against anything, but he did give me a problem and challenge me on a problem. And he said, okay, but if you can solve this, then, you should be a math major. And, eventually I never solved the problem. So,
Wait, that's a good build-up story. That's a good. You build me right about like, is this something you got into math? Niggas say no, man.
So yeah, it was like I never solved the problem, but eventually, I was in the electrical program, and then I was like, but it's like Jofi's a cool guy, and it's like he has so much freedom for him to do so much stuff. It's like it wouldn't be such a bad idea for me to be a math major, and maybe even potentially, if I get to go to grad school and become a professor at one of the college or even COB or somewhere else in the world. And then I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna keep him close and stick around him so I can actually learn from him and ask him more questions and be able to kind of benefit from this and encounter that kind of present itself for me to be around him in this class and everything else.
And that turned out to be a great decision because again, because I know both of you closely. full circle, y'all going to do your dissertation, and Jofi flies over
Yep.
to be with both of you, boy. So I mean, boy, Audi, you made a great decision. I think, by God has blessed you. I mean, if you just want to speak life over my life in your prayers, I accept it. I take in blessings this season, boy. What you mean? You gotta find the holy ones during COVID. That's what you gotta do. That's what people going wrong. You know, they're looking for quick money. They're looking for quick cash. No, find the holy
Right.
people. Let them pray for you. This man is holy. Robo.
Ah,
Anyway, boy. Ladies and gentlemen, I only hear killing time. We don't see any questions for Audi, but I feel like I did pretty much ask you a lot of questions. But thank you for sharing your life. Truly inspirational. You know, me and you have work to do on that book, and I hope
boy,
the book
listen,
is on what we just
listen to
discussed.
me. Listen to
Because
me.
you need
This
to
book,
write this book, bro.
it's already written in terms of the first draft. I just need to go ahead and get some, pretty much just reread it and do some editing on it, and then send it to the editor, and then see how it goes from there. But I think it's pretty much 60% done right
We
now. When I
got you,
get
boy.
80%, I think I'm ready to go send this thing off.
Well, that ain't even the timer for Instagram. My phone is saying that it's dying now. So wait, this phone told you. But I got like 10%. I got 10%. But again, any last words you want to say to the audience before we close for the day? Again, shout outs to you for even spending time to write your book, babe. I mean, I'm already an author. I'm putting my book out again. The first sales did great, so like 500 copies. But I have the second book coming out, so I want people to read the first, and then I got to unleash the second. And I only talk about relationships because a boy being dating out here but still single. That's how rough it is. But anyway, what last words you want to say, dog? What last words you want to say
I
to
would
the audience before we
definitely,
leave?
my last word would be, time. Time is a beautiful thing in terms of its. People always say, "I told you so," or "I saw that coming," but everybody is able to read the writing on the wall once it presents itself. When you don't know what the writing is going to be, you are stuck in that uncertainty and that transitionary period, and you just feel as though you're stuck. And I think all of us have experienced a little bit of stuckness in terms of we making a decision and not knowing what the future is going to hold. And COVID, oh my gosh, this stuckness of being in this pandemic has pretty much put that particular aspect of life and uncertainty on the forefront of our minds. So I would definitely say, whatever it is that you want to do in terms of, I don't know, 4 or 5 years or even tomorrow, just go ahead and start working on it today. Whether it be, you want to, I don't know, read a book, just pick it up and read the introduction, or probably read the title, or even look inside of it, read the contents. And you never know. It's like maybe you see something in the content and you might not even have to read the entire book and just jump straight to that topic, that particular aspect of the content that you're interested in. Just look at it. You never know by just reading that book what kind of idea it might spark. Even if you're on social media and you're following someone that is inspirational or have something that is productive in terms of the information they let out, then the content that they produce, I would say, then just listen to them. You never know what ideas that they may spark that may lead to something that you may be able to benefit from in the long run. So don't lose this time by just complaining that you can't go out, you can't travel. Find something. It's something that you can do that's going to help you when it's time for you to travel. That's going to benefit you in the long run. Learn a new language. Who knows? That may help you in the long run anyway. So learn Mandarin.
That's
Learn
a good way
Mandarin.
to end the show. Do
Yes.
you speak Creole as well? I didn't even know that, dog. I didn't even know you speak Creole. Wait, say something in Creole and
pour tout le monde qui parle créole, qui a gardé by sa konya, m'a dit comme ça, qui était à nous en l'air, garder qui ça nous a fait aujourd'hui, et puis quand nous finit, then nous ga ouais qui j'en by cap venir demain si deve, cap passer. So ou pas j'aime connaître qui ça cap passer demain si deve, but ou ka faire ça ou ka faire aujourd'hui pour demain si deve. I just said, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen.
You have to, no. Leave that. Before you get that, I heard griot. And because I saw Chef Boy Audi and I heard griot, you were saying that you're also serving food on your page, and the people want. I just joking. Tell them.
All I said is that whatever's happening today, just keep your head up and try to do with the best that you have. we never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but nonetheless, we know what's happening today. So do your best with today. And that's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Off Season with your host, Ren, and we had Dr. Audi here today. Enjoy this, listen, understand that people out there, even in COVID-19 pandemic, still blessing, still growing, just like this young man. So once again, thank you, buddy. I'll see you soon. I got to talk to you again. So I'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Everybody have a
thanks
great
for having
day.
me.
Yeah, bro.